Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can.
Yes, I have finally finished my 32 custom team league, and I'm ready to share it all with you guys. If you saw from the clips right before this, I honestly, man, I just want to go through all the teams. I'm going to show you some of the pictures. You'll see all the uniforms for every team. And then I hope that you guys enjoy it. Whether that's all of them, some of them, one of them, it doesn't matter to me, man. This was a huge project for me. I was really excited to put this together. I had a ton of fun doing it. And just finding some creative, passion, if you will, to like trying to put together some teams that, one, are a little fresh, two, are different, but three, are not outlandish enough to not make sense in an NFL world, right? Like there are some uniforms I have that are a little bit more extra than others, but I try to keep things as simple. I tried to keep the colors separated. I tried to keep the teams geographically set properly so that it made sense. So I hope you guys enjoy. And if you do see this, I'd really appreciate if you share it. I'd love to see the community using these teams and having some fun inside of Madden franchise. So without further ado, let's get started. But again, thank you guys so much for following along on this journey. I know a lot of you have been asking about this over the last couple of months. I've essentially retweaked all the uniforms, which is why it's been so long. I retweaked them now with the new stuff you have in Teambuilder and the different materials and the extra images you can upload. So I was really able to take some of the teams that I was happy with but not the happiest with and turn them into something I was much happier with. So without further ado, let's get started. We are going to kick things off with the NFC North. And these are the four teams. So we have the Minnesota Fury, the St. Louis Knights, the Chicago Legion, and the Milwaukee Maulers. Some of you may have recognized these teams and realize they look a little different now. They do. I do know that the Fury have a little bit of a different look to them. I adjusted some of their striping and I uploaded some better stuff. So the stripes you'll see are different. The helmets are set out differently. The Knights used to be black instead of the red, but I decided to change it up and make them predominantly red. The Legion, man, I was struggling with Chicago. I did have a Renegades team in there that was like the Chicago colors, but it looked, to be honest with you, it just looked a little tacky as a football uniform. And I don't mean any offense to it by that. I know the Chicago flag is a very, important thing with people from Chicago, and they have pride in it. That's why I decided to use the 4 stars from the Chicago flag to sort of encompass it, but also use better team colors that would work better together. And then we have the Milwaukee Maulers, another team that I put together quite a long time ago. Not a lot has changed with them. Here's the first team, the Minnesota Fury. Now, this team I put together because, well, I don't know, man. I feel like I couldn't find something that would fit Minnesota, and I had this logo, and I was like, Minnesota Fury, icy, wintry. It went together well in my head, and I like the color combination that I came up with here. Some of these jerseys look much better together than they do with the other ones, but for the most part, they're all interchangeable. You should be able to use any helmet with any uniform, and it should all work perfectly well. One of my personal favorite teams is this one right here, the St. Louis Knights. It's one of the first teams that I did. I vividly remember because when I started this, I did not know I was going to do a full 32. I was just like, there needs to be a team in St. Louis because St. Louis was, this shouldn't have been taken away in the first place. But then I was like, my favorite colors are red and black, and the Knights sound like a good team. So we're going to put it all together. And I originally had this as a black and red team. So it was primarily black and then red accents. But then when I was doing some messing around this year with the team, and I just saw how clean that red looked. Like this helmet right here. Oh my God, do I love this uniform set. Sorry. Anyway, when I saw how some of them turned out together, and I saw this uniform together, I was like, I need a team that is just full on red because that's my favorite color. It looks so good. And the full red helmet where it's just a complete gloss of red everywhere, it looks so clean yet new and subtle. I don't know how to explain it. This is one of my favorite uniforms, though. I love the helmet and how it accents the black. But this team in general, I love them. One of my first teams, one of my favorite teams to this day, even with all the ones that I've created. The Legion are the team that I replaced the Renegades with. If you saw the Renegades in the last year's game when they had like the same colors as the Chicago flag, the light blue, the deep red, I liked the concept, but I could not make it work where it sat right with me for a team. So I decided to change things up. I wanted to still use the 4 stars from the Chicago flag, which is why that's what the logo is. And I don't actually have a logo for the Legion. And then I was just trying to come up with like a tough like representation of Chicago, and Legion popped up, and I'm like, this just makes sense. I'm just going to use this, man. So Chicago Legion is the team. We have the 4 stars on the helmet as the logo, and it's just a very nice, like a deep gray, bluish gray, and a nice yellow. And I think it's a really classic NFL style look. And now we have the Milwaukee Maulers. Now this team was essentially designed off of the idea of the Memphis Express, I believe it was, of the AFL, AAFL, whatever. You know, one of those leagues that didn't make it a couple years back that tried to do a little alternative to the NFL. I really like the look. I decided to go ahead and make something of my own for it, and I needed a team for Wisconsin, and I could not come up with anything better than this. And honestly, it was a harder one for me to come up with, but I ended up liking how it turns out. Milwaukee Maulers, it sort of represents the iron workers and stuff down from back in the day, and obviously from present day in the industries and stuff. So I was happy with it. I thought it fit well. I love the color scheme, of course. You guys know I like red, if it's not apparent by my logo. So yeah, there are some teams here that have a lot more red than others, but like that's just the way it is. I tried to like sort of separate myself from teams later on, and you'll see as we go that I do have quite a bit of mixture with colors, but red is definitely my favorite color. So there was quite a few situations where I was putting teams with some red in them. Okay, sorry. The NFC South is our next division that we're going to cover, and this contains the New Orleans Voodoo, the Miami Sharks, the Georgia Phoenix, and the Orlando Storm. Something that I did not mention in the last slide, and I should have, or before we even started. If you are not aware of how this works with Madden Teambuilder, there are some teams that have custom stripes on the shoulders. If your team that you decide to use has a custom stripe, if a player is wearing a long sleeve, like the loose ones, it will not show the custom sleeve. Do not ask me why this is a thing. Madden never put it into the team builder. It didn't like render it to where it can adjust based off the sleeve. It only works with the tight sleeves like you see here on the pictures of the players above. So if you download one of these teams and it has a shoulder stripe, and then all of a sudden you go in the game and your quarterback, who most likely is the culprit because they all wear long sleeves now, doesn't have a shoulder stripe, that is why. I wish there was a way for me to fix it. There is not. So just keep that in mind when you are using these teams, because I specifically remember being upset about the Voodoo because I have the stripe sort of coming down around the shoulders into the chest, and it just looks like 2 little things right here in their chest because it cuts off the shoulder stuff. So I wish I could change it, but I can't. Anyways, let's check out these teams now in their entirety. And here we have the Voodoo. Love the purple, love the green. I think they go very well together. I do have a matte helmet option, as you can see here. I love the way that I was able to make some of these helmets look. The green looks really nice. The white looks really nice. Like, these uniforms are all designed to essentially be mix and match. You can mix and match with anything to make sure that it fits the team. And like, if you want this helmet with the 3rd jersey or vice versa, you should be able to mix and match them, and it all is cohesive. I try to do it that way on purpose because I want you guys to be able to create your own looks for these teams, because there's a lot of different ones you can do. The Miami Sharks are another team that I made pretty early on, but then I made changes to, as you can see on the shoulder stripes here, towards the end of this whole thing. So I did this really ass backwards. I started by just making a bunch of teams, and then as I started recording clips for them or trying to look at clips for them, I was like, wow, I need to change all this. And then I went back and I changed everything like 3 times over for every team. So it took me a long time, way more than it needed to, but I'm happy with the outcome. So we have sort of like the Rams sort of like design from their jersey, and I used that on the shoulder to almost represent like waves, if you will. And this turned out well. I like the blue, like a 2-tone blue type of look with some white accents. I think it looks really sharp. It makes sense. Obviously, Miami Sharks, water, ocean. I wanted to make a team sort of like the old Any Given Sunday team. If you know, you know. If not, you're a lot younger than I am probably. But it just didn't fit with today's NFL, and it was a very like plain Jane team. So I decided to spruce it up and change everything around. And I still like how it turned out. So hope you guys enjoyed as well. This team was impossible for me to make for the longest time. I wanted to do a Phoenix team. I wanted to do that. I liked the name. I looked for literal weeks on end trying to find a logo, and I could not find one that didn't look too, I don't know. If you ever looked up like Phoenix like logos, you get a lot of like elegant, very like stringy, like almost cursive looking logos, which is great for a lot of reasons, but for a football team it doesn't make any sense. So I ended up going with this logo. I'm not saying it's an actual Phoenix bird, I get it, it's not. I just try to make it look like such, but I love the color combination. I was trying to just do an orange and white team, but I just could never make it look properly the way I wanted to with the logo. And then I ended up coming across this logo, which was actually red and orange, I believe, and I was like, let me just change this to yellow, and I think it works. It looks nice. It's a little bit different, and it turned out well. I did make here this one and the next one as like no black option, so you just have that option. If you're not a huge fan of having black in the uniform, you have just a red and yellow option if you want, you know, who knows. But I try to make them blend as much as possible. Sometimes I will try to go a different route with uniforms, and it will mean that not all 5 sets are intertwinable, but it does give you the ability to really change how the team looks. Like if you want the team to be looking like this with just a red and yellow jersey, you can do that. If you want to lean into the black accents, you can do that. I try to make it for everybody, so that way it's not like just a one-size-fits-all type of team. And I think I hit it with this one a little bit. Are there some things that I could have done differently? Probably. I wish I could have utilized orange more in this. It just, every time I tried, man, it just didn't work out well, and I don't know what I did wrong. But anyway, this is the Georgia Phoenix, and they are the last team, I believe, for the NFC South. I was completely wrong. This is the last team for the NFC South. It's the Orlando Storm. And this was, when I first started doing teams, this was one of the teams I had in mind, not the general like idea, but the color scheme. I knew I wanted a red and black team. I knew I wanted a yellow and black team. And this was the one that I came up with for this. This was one of my earlier builds, Orlando Storm. The logo was very difficult for me. I tried a few different ones. I didn't like a lot of them. I wish I could find one that better suited for what I was going for, but this one, it does work for what I'm going for. It just isn't the best work that I've done. But overall, I'm happy with the uniform. Very clean with the black and the yellow, the white helmet option, love it. A lot of different options here with uniforms as there are with any other ones, but I love the way that the yellow and the black look together. So was definitely happy to be able to get one of these included with the rest of the teams. And now we move on to the NFC East. And this one, I love this division. I feel like there was a lot of mixture here. I did a good job, I feel like, of mixing up the looks and the style, but also fitting it with the area, if you will. So we have the Philadelphia Founders, pretty obvious. Brooklyn Kings, just fit, it sounded right. Connecticut Riverhawks, I don't know what a Riverhawk is, but it sounds cool and it looks good, and I was able to do green, which I really wanted to do. And then we have the Cincinnati Flight, all about jets and aeroplanes and that kind of stuff. But anyway, love this division. The Founders were the last team I made, and I think one of my favorites. So let's get into the teams individually. I had such a hard time putting together uniforms for this team. I wanted to do it in so many different fashions, but I decided at the end of the day to just make something put together. This was the original home uniform right here, this look. But I was like, I felt like it needed a little bit more pop to it, which is why I ended up changing it to the more blue with the cream color here that you see. And I think they all look good. I felt this looked the best as terms of like what would be the original home. And then you guys can mix and match however you want. But all I know is this team, I really like how this turned out. This one I had such a hard time with. And if you guys are wondering how I come up with these logos, I am not a graphic designer. I am not, by any means. I have no idea what that is. I don't have Illustrator. I don't have all these other different Adobe programs. I have Photoshop and I have Google. That's all I have, man. That's all I got. So what I did for a lot of these teams is I made my own logos through buying them and then adjusting colors and changing some of the looks of them, very minor, like adding outlines, you know, erasing some things, whatever. Other times I use AI and I don't care. We're gonna watch this slide for a little bit because I'm gonna rant for a second, okay? The Teambuilder Reddit the subreddit for Teambuilder 2526, okay? It's a great platform for people to share their teams, share assets, give people ideas, help people out. It's awesome. I've been in there. If you guys maybe have seen me pop up, you know, I think my username is BillNick80 still, which is like my old username, but regardless, I love the subreddit. But y'all need to stop hating on people for using AI, okay? Nobody cares that you're a graphic designer. Nobody cares that you learn how to do Illustrator. Congratulations, man. Congrats to you. Nobody cares. Now, I will say there are plenty of teams that have no business being created, but I guarantee you, if I wouldn't tell you which one of these teams I used AI for and which ones I did, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference, because I make sure when I take something from AI that it's actually a good logo. It's not, all jumbled together and misspelled and just looks horrible. Like, I sit for hours orchestrating this AI logo with, I use Bard, or not Bard, sorry, it used to be Bard, it's Gemini now, Google's AI, to make some of these. Now, did I use it for all of them? Nope. Did I use it for maybe half of them? A little bit less than that, maybe a third? You're damn right I did, and I'll do it again. This logo right here is from them. I had no idea what to do for the Chicago Founders. I just knew the name was awesome. The AI gave me the color combination for this. I just put the jerseys together and made them look cool and came up with the striping. But the color combo and the jersey and the logo came from AI. Like I said, I am not a graphic designer. I'm not going to sit here and crap on somebody for using AI. And I hate that there's people that do that in that subreddit. Like, every time somebody posts something with AI, AI slop, who uses AI? Shut up, man. Nobody cares. Somebody made a jersey. They like to use it. They couldn't make it themselves, so they used something that would help them make it. Stop being a punk. And I hope you guys see that if you're in the subreddit, because you guys are punks. Leave people alone. There. End of rant. But this is the Philadelphia Founders. I'm happy with them. I think they turned out well. Hope you guys enjoyed them as well. Next up is the Brooklyn Kings. This team I changed 3 or 4 times. You guys might have downloaded them with the original look. The jersey was different. The helmet was different. It looked very dull my first go around, and I brightened things up a little bit. I brought out a little bit more color of the purple. I changed up how I had the home uniform and the away uniforms. I changed up the striping. I love this look right here. Like, this here, it looks clean. Yes, the back end sort of looks like LSU. I did that on purpose. I thought it was sort of cool to see. Like, this right here almost gives an LSU vibe. I like it. I think it looks good, and I'm a Vikings fan, so purple and yellow all the way. And now the Connecticut Riverhawks, and like I said, this was a team that I wanted to make a green team. I didn't anticipate making it with the Riverhawks, but it just stuck out to me. So, like, I have no idea why, but when I think of Connecticut, I think of green. Is that just because I've never been to Connecticut? Very much so, but I don't care. This is what I came up with, and I think it turned out really well. We have a very dark green that almost acts as like a black, and then we have a little bit of a lighter green, nothing too crazy, but together with the white, it just looks really, really nice. And this turned out about as good as I thought. I did have a difference when it came to how the striping looked. It was way different originally. I didn't have like the pointed out stuff. It was more of just like a regular striping. I just didn't like the way it turned out. So I went back and I changed it, and I added it to look like almost like a wing, sort of, where it's got like an arch to it, but it's just a stripe on the shoulder. I just think the little accent looks good. It sort of resembles somewhat of like a pointed wing, I guess, if you will. And then I added that on the top as well for the stripes, so that it was a little bit more, it flowed better. And then added the little on the bottom too. Like, all of this uniform is literally one type of design, and I just changed the way it looks on the uniform based off of a couple of factors. Like, the striping is not all one piece. It's 2 pieces that I just spaced out properly to look good and sort of overlap with each other. And then the same with the pants at the bottom. It's just 2 pieces that are sort of, one's here and then another one's behind it, but just sort of sticking out a little bit, so that way it gives it a seemingly like outline. So I'm happy the way it came out. Riverhawks, I think it looks pretty cool. So yeah, there it is. Next up is the Cincinnati Flight. And yeah, I also had a problem with using way too much black on my uniforms at the beginning. What I did. My daughter actually pointed it out to me. She's like, "Dad, you have way too much black on all of these teams." I'm like, you're probably right. But then I did it again anyway. The Flight here is a team. Sometimes it's just the look, right? Like a nice black with a nice blue. I mean, that just goes so well together. And that's what I did with the Flight team here. I did mix it up, added some blue here. So if you want to just use straight blue, you can. Also have the white options as well. So again, you can mix and match white helmet, blue top, white pants. You can do it all. So I'm happy the way it came out. I really like this team. This was one of the color combos that I wanted to do from the get-go, and I knew I was going to. I just wasn't sure how to deliver it. Ended up going with the Flight, and it turned out as so. And to finalize the NFC, we are going to the NFC West, and this has some of my favorite teams that I built by far. just for the creativity aspect. And I know I sound like I'm like glazing myself here. I'm really not. Like, this was not just me coming up with these designs. Like, I actually worked a lot, like my daughter, who she's 12. She's not like anything into football or nothing, but she's really good with creative stuff. She's very artistic. So I would ask her like questions like, hey, what do you think about this color combination? Or what do you think about this logo and how I can put the colors together? And she helped me put the colors in spots that I wasn't looking at before. And it just sort of helped things come to life a little bit. Also, I would help, you know, like I mentioned that subreddit. I'm a part of that subreddit, and I've asked for help many times. And I was stuck on this team right here, the Honolulu Koa, for a long time, and I almost considered changing the name because I just could not come up with how to get the jersey I wanted. And then some guy, I can't think of his name, I thanked him in a post, but he just is like, hey man, why don't you just do this? And I did that, and I made it an H. He had an M for, I don't know why he had an M, now that I think about it. I have no idea why it was an M. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it came up with the H, and I put it together, and it turned out really well. The Spartans are another team that I really love. That was one of the first teams where I sort of did a little bit different than what I normally do. And I tried to go against my own grain, and it turned out really well. And then not just by like using a bunch of white instead of black accents everywhere. There is, of course, the black, you know, collar, but the jersey turned out really nicely. The Stingers, this logo was one of the first logos I ever did with AI, and it did not turn out very well. It turned out well enough, but I could not find it. How many, like, here's another rant of mine, okay? And obviously this isn't the fault of the creators because they're just creating what they want to create, but like, I've used a lot of sites like Vecteezy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that site. It's like an asset site like Adobe Stock where you can go and you can purchase images and whatnot, but they're a little bit cheaper. They're not as crazy as some of the other sites. They want $30 per image. What I would do is I would literally drop $20 and it would give me, I think it was 5 for 10 credits, and I could download 5 or 10 images for that, and then I could get them from these creators. The only thing is, every time that I tried to find one, because there was actually going to be a swarm team. I was trying to make a swarm like a wasp, but the scorpions and like the wasps that I would find for logos that were already created, they look so cheesy. They look like a college logo. Like they have like the really weird cartoonish animated like angry face and stuff, and it didn't really speak to me for an NFL team. So that's why I went to AI initially, because I was finding a lot of logos. Like the Spartans logo is actually from Vecteezy. But some other ones, I stopped finding ideas and I couldn't find what I was looking for. So that's when I turned to AI. That one was actually through, I believe, Bing. Whatever Bing's AI is called. They're not very good. They're not as good as Gemini. But I recolored it myself. It took me like 2 hours to recolor the logo, and you'll see on the helmet if you download it, you can tell that it was definitely worked on, because it turned out really shoddy from the AI, and I had to like redo and redraw everything myself with just like Photoshop like pen or whatever, the pen tool. So that was not very fun, but it turned out well enough. But I love what I did with the uniforms with the two-tone and the Surge. Man, dude, the Surge turned out well. That was a team that I wanted to do something completely different with. And at the last moment, the Surge helmet is how the Knights were created. There's some lore to this here, okay? I know I'm ranting. If you guys don't like it, to skip till you see pictures on the screen. I'm sorry, but I'm a talker. You guys know this if you've watched me. So the Surge logo is an AI as well. I couldn't find anything. I wasn't even sure what a Surge was. It just sounded cool. LA Surge, you know? And I came up with that logo was given to me. I had them rework it a couple times just because I didn't like the way it looked initially. And I was like, all right, you know what? Fine. I can make this work. It looks almost like a wave, you know, Surge, you know, I get it. But the helmet is on accident, because I originally had it planned to do all black with this team. And this was the team that my daughter yelled at me on about using so much black. And I'm like, you know what, fine, I'll just try to recreate something. And what I would do beforehand is I would have all the helmet colored and stuff, right? Well, I have overlays on the helmets. Like if you see some of these helmets like the Koa or the Stingers, where like the helmet looks way different than what you see when you make a team and it's like gloss or matte, it's because what I do is I make a circle in Photoshop, I color it the team color, I add it as an overlay, and then I adjust the customization for the texture there so it looks different. And that's how I get my helmets to look much different than what you'll see in the game itself if you are doing it yourself. So there's your tip. Make a big circle, color it the team color, and then add it as an image on your team builder, and then you can overlay it on the helmet, just blow it up as much as it'll go, and then just drag it down so it's underneath everything, so the helmet, like the striping and the logo, are on top. Just note that if you do that, you cannot use the stripes for the helmet that they have built in. So you have to either make your own stripes, which I do most of the time anyway, or you just can't have a stripe on the top of the helmet. But anyway, what I did was, that was a black overlay on the helmet, and I deleted it, but didn't realize it. And I went to load in the game just to check on stuff, and I saw that helmet without everything on it. It wasn't that color. It looked more like the Knights helmet that you saw, the all red helmet, just a flat red. And I'm like, holy crap, that blue looks so sharp like that. Why did I do that? I didn't mean to do that. So then when I went back in to edit the team, I'm like, I'm going to keep it that way. So I then made a circle for the blue, uploaded it, and I messed around with all the settings to get that look to it. And you'll see it when we look at the picture. So probably should have ranted on that during the team, but I started going, and I can't stop when I start going. So my bad. Anyways, let me shut up. And here is the full build for the Koa. The striping on this was a pain in the ass to make, but it turned out so nice. And I made the stripe on the helmet by accident. Anyway, this turned out really good. I had a completely different build in here. If you guys have downloaded some of my teams in the past, you know this team was completely different. The colors were still the same, but I had a way different logo and a different build, and I just never liked it. I never liked it. And some of these teams I did that with, trying to push all these teams out. I would just be like, you know what, this is passable, and I just leave it alone. But then now, as I was going back through this, I'm like, this isn't okay. I need to change this. And that's when I came up with this, because of somebody on that subreddit mentioning I should make this with the Hawaiian logo. And I didn't want to use the H because I sort of felt like that was just ripping off the college team. But at the end of the day, I didn't have anything else to use, and this looks so good. So I'm like, screw it. We're going to bring it in. We'll make our own flair off of it. The stripes you see are a bunch of individual triangles that I placed and then sized out so that they were like the exact same space apart from each other, both this way and this way. And it took me forever to get the sizing down, because I would put the sizing in and it would look too big, or it would look too stretched or whatever, or maybe too small. And I just had to keep messing with it. And it finally came up with this. And I think it looks really cool. It's very individual. It fits the sort of the Hawaiian Koa thing I was going for. If you don't know about Hawaiian culture, I didn't either, obviously. I still don't. But I did some research on this because I wanted to use something that was representative of that area. And there was a group or an army, I'm not sure what it was called the Koa Warriors, and they essentially were a big group of warriors that primarily had weapons built from Koa trees, and that's why they were called the Koa Warriors. That, from my understanding, I could be wrong there. If you know better, please enlighten me in the comments. But that is where the idea came from, and that's why the colors are what they are. I'm not saying that Koas exactly look like this color, but it just, like, the dark, deep reddish brown sort of represents like a tree, and then the off green, the tealish color is sort of a mixture between like the woods but also the water, right, with Honolulu and with Hawaii in general. And that's where the colors came from. And the triangles, while they're not exactly what you would find with Hawaiian culture, they are a big representative of how they have like a lot of tattoos and markings on things, was triangle patterns and whatnot. So I wanted to try to do that, but I wanted to also modernize it so it looked good on an NFL uniform. And this is what I came up with. I think they turned out really well, happy with it, and really excited to see some people use this team. I might even have to make my own franchise to use some of these teams at this point. And here are the Spartans. Now this was another set that like I said, I went sort of outside of the box, and I did more of a subtle build, not too much extra stuff, just very simple design, and I think it turned out rather well. So here we just have straight up purple uniform, a white striping for the home, purple for the away, double white numbers for the home. I think it looks very clean and just a little bit different. It looks sort of like TCU in a way, and I won't disagree with that at all. They have great color combinations and great uniforms. What can I say? I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that I came up with this design. I didn't come up with any of these designs on my own. Like, these are all original ideas from somebody else somewhere along the line, whether it's subconsciously doing that or doing it on purpose, you know. But this team, one of my favorites that it turned out, just very simple, to the point. It pops, and yes, I used black again, I'm sorry. But anyway, Spartans turned out. And then this set here and the next one, I, again, sort of like the Phoenix, I took away the black features, and I used silver instead. So that way, if you want to get away from using black as accents, you can do that by using those last two uniform sets. The other 3, of course, have black accents, whether it's the full thing like that one here or the ones prior where you see a face mask or a collar that color. But these are all white, silver, and purple, no black associated. So that way, if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. And now the Arizona Stingers. And this was a team that I was very happy with how it turned out. I have multiple helmet sets in here because I wasn't sure how to put all of them together properly and which ones not to use, so I used them all. And you'll see that like there's the same helmet but 2 different ways, and I did that on purpose, right? So this one was designed because of how the AI turned out with the logo. I wanted to sort of work it into the uniform, and that's why you see the 2-tone helmet and the 2-tone striping, is because I wanted it to work that way within the dynamic of the uniform to sort of tie in the logo. And what I did was I made a square or a very long rectangle, and I put a gradient overlay on it, and that's how that turned out. Same with the helmet. The helmet is actually not it's not a full like circle. I have one circle, or I have like a half a circle, a half a square I think it is, that is colored and it fades into nothing, and I overlaid that on the actual colored helmet. Or I would add another logo or another like overlay to the helmet so that it gave it that look. So there's a lot of work went into this team. It was very difficult to get it looking exactly the way I wanted, but I think it turned out well. It looks very different, and it sort of ties into the Phoenix Suns colors. That's what my idea was behind it, to tie in the Phoenix Sun colors, because I just associate that with Arizona or Phoenix so much that I wanted to do that here. So we got the Arizona Stingers, or was it the Phoenix Stingers? I don't even know what I named them. I just know it's the Stingers, and it turned out well. Made sure to have the helmet as a matte option because I love the way the matte looks sometimes, and this white helmet looks really good. If you are curious why all of the accessories I have are colored of the team and not white, it's because Madden broke it this year. I don't know how. They suck. They can't get it right. And they made it to where almost all of the accessories are always chrome. So if you have a white one, it's all silver, and it looks really stupid if you don't have silver in your uniform. So instead, I decided to make it all the primary color or something of that nature so that it sort of blended better within the uniform itself, which is why you don't see any white accessories on the helmet for me. I wish I could have it because some helmets look better with it than they do a colored. Like, I couldn't do an all-white helmet, which sucks. Who doesn't like a really clean all-white helmet? But it just isn't possible in this game right now because they haven't fixed it yet. So that's why you see all of them looking like that, where they have a bunch of color on, like the team colors or secondary colors instead of white for the accessories. And now we have the LA Surge, and this team had a couple of changes as well. But the last thing that I made, it turned out so good I could not do it, and that's that little shoulder striping, that pattern in the shoulder that you see. So as I mentioned, I couldn't figure out something with the logo. It was hard for me to do. And I was trying to find something to do on the shoulder that just was a little bit different than what I've been doing. And I didn't want to just do a stripe. And I was looking around for transparent textures, and I was trying to find one that represented a wave. And I ended up just stumbling across a few random ones. But this one in particular, it's not a wave, obviously. It's an edged like type of thing. It's like triangles and stuff to some degree. But it sort of fit. And I'm like, let me try this. And I uploaded it. And the way it looks like it's sort of faded and not fully there is exactly what I wanted without knowing that's what I wanted. And it just turned out so well. And the blue helmets, man, oh my God, do they look so good with this colored blue and the way that I put the texture. If you guys are interested in some of the textures that I use for these, let me know in the comments, and I will let you know which metal mask and which smoothness I use for the looks, because I use a lot of different ones. Sometimes you have, like, I had a set that I was using, like, I think it was 64 smoothness, 78 metal mask to get a certain look, but it wouldn't look the same on another helmet. So I would change it. I would like bring it up and down a little bit just to get the colors to pop better or align better with the rest of it. Because when you do it too much, it makes the helmet itself look much different than the other, like the jersey look. So you have to be careful with it. So I was toying around with it so much, and it turned out well, right? It turned out well. But it did take a lot of tweaking. So if you guys have questions, by all means, let me know. I will definitely share that stuff with you guys. I am not opposed to that. This look right here looks really nice. Just the black with the blue jersey looks so clean. And then the white helmet, of course, with the white options. a very clean look to me, and even though there's black involved with it, it does still scream like LA vibes, you know, like watery stuff, and I think it just turned out really good. So I'm happy with it. And now we're on to the AFC, and the AFC North. We have the Montana Mustangs, the Alaska Kodiaks, the Oregon Highlanders, and the Washington Wolves. The Wolves were the first created team out of this group. The Mustangs were the second. The Kodiaks were the third, but they were very different. And then the Highlanders were last because I could not figure out what I wanted to do for another team in the AFC North. I was trying to put them geographically close to each other so it made sense. And I knew that Oregon would be one that I could put a team in that is a little underrepresented in sports outside of college. And, you know, I thought it would be a good idea. And that's what I did. I came up with the Highlanders, you know, sort of, you know, up in the mountains or whatnot. We did a sort of a lumberjack type of build, though, with the brown and the red. But anyways, it turned out different, and that's what I was going for. The Kodiaks are definitely different. If you guys downloaded this team originally, they were a dark blue and a very vibrant yellow. Very vibrant. It was almost too colorful, if that makes sense. Like, you know, sometimes colors like will bleed through sometimes, and it seems like you can tell that it's bleeding from looking at a picture of it. That's sort of how that team looked. I tried to use the Alaskan state flag colors, and that's where I got that scheme from. But again, this is the help of my daughter with this color scheme here. It's like it's an icy silver gray. And it's such a deep blue. It almost looks green, but it is sort of green at the same time. I don't even know what to call this color, but it turned out so well. And it just sort of, it made sense for the team. Alaska is not just icy and blue. It's also just forests and beautiful nature and stuff like that. So that's what I came up with. It's a little different. It's not what you expect, but it turned out really well. And the Wolves is a creation all by my daughter. She helped with the logo. She helped with the jersey design. I just found the font, and that's about it, and then put the jerseys together. She even helped put some of the jerseys together. So that's one of my favorite teams. So let's go ahead and let's check these teams out. Up first, the Montana Mustangs, one of my earlier created teams. And this team did not have a lot of change to it. I sort of just liked the way it turned out, but I did make adjustments to how the helmet looks and sort of how the colors and textures look on the helmets, and the font. That's about it. But this is still pretty similar to what I had on my initial build. And it's just a simple deep blue with almost like a beige cream look. And this was based a little bit off of my time with the RFL and the Chicago Cougars. I just love the color scheme. It's obviously not the same exact colors, but it sort of resembles it a little bit, and I like the way it looks, and it fits. And Montana definitely never gets a sports team in any of these major sports areas, so I thought, why not? Let's use this as a way to include some states that never get any love, and that's what I did with the AFC especially. So the Mustangs were one that I was really looking forward to making, and I'm happy with how they turned out. And now for the Alaska Kodiaks. And again, this color is it's so interesting. It seems like it's blue, but it's green at the same time. It is such a cool individual color. And I put this together trying to be a little bit more on the greenery side, but it just looked good the way it was, and I don't want to mess with it too much, even though it sort of resembles a blue, but it also does a green at the same time. The silver just makes it all pop, and I love the way it turned out. Really happy with it. The silver I used even has somewhat of a little blue tint to it. But again, love the way it turned out. The team looks good. This silver option that you just saw there, I really like that as sort of like a sort of what do you want to call it? Dang, I can't think of the word that the NFL used to use for the Thursday Night Football. You guys know what I'm talking about. When they had everybody wearing these bright uniforms where everything was the same color. Anyway, that sort of was my idea behind it. But again, here's the Kodiaks. Turned out really well. Love the shoulder design. If you notice, I have a little bit of an arch in it. That was hard to make work. I had to sort of take what I had and then add an arch just a little bit, so that way when it put onto the shoulder pad, it looked like it flowed properly. But I like the way it turned out. I lined it up to my best to line up with the seam of the jersey. Yes, that's how deep I went with this stuff. I tried to do everything to make it look like it was a part of something. So if you look, like especially here, if you look right here, you can see how this seam of the jersey almost lines up perfectly with that striping there, and it almost makes it look like this portion of the jersey, like the silver and the numbers up here, is separate from this dark stripe and the bottom part. And That was, I took me a while to get that down because it would look one way on the site, and when I went into the game, it wouldn't line up, so I had to do it multiple times, but eventually ended up finding that balance, and I think it looks really clean. And now for the Highlanders. And now this is a team where I think the original uniform, this one right here, is worse than some of the alternates that I have, but I didn't want to force red on everybody so much. But look at these here. That helmet looks so sick. And I'm going to be honest, there's nothing special about that helmet. That's just a matte helmet from the game. I thought I had a special texture on there, so I went back in and I looked multiple times to try to figure out how I made the helmet look that way, and it was just just so happened that that color mixed with the matte setting for the site that Teambuilder has just worked. But it doesn't work like that for every color, so it looks a little weird sometimes when you have like some colors on there, but it just looks really clean. I like the way that this team turned out. I think it's great. Is it a little different? Is it not really exactly what you expected? Maybe, but sometimes you need that a little bit. And we had to have some brown associated somewhere in the teams, right? Because I mean, you got the Browns, right now in the NFL. It's not a bad color to use if you do it right. So, and now for the Washington Wolves, and again, one of the very first teams that I made. And of course, like I said, it was a big help from my daughter to make these teams. She helped design the logo that you see. I was having a hard time with the coloring of it. It was completely different. It was like purple and yellow when we first got the logo, and I bought this logo. But she designed the logo herself with the colors. She found what worked well together, and I think she did an excellent job. And the yellow, it's like almost like a vibrant, it's not like a deep yellow, it's almost like a highlighter yellow, but it's not too like bright. It just works very well with the blue, and the blue almost looks gray, and that's why like she wanted that color. She's like, it doesn't look too blue, it almost looks gray, and she went with it, and it just pops very well. The striping was all her idea. She wanted to use the striping in game. I'm like, hey, that's fine, that's less work for me. I don't have to come up with some custom stuff for it. And the all yellow options, obviously if you don't want to look like a highlighter, that's fine, but it's there if you want to mix and match like the yellow helmet with the dark top and whatnot. And then the last one that you just saw there, where is it? I didn't have another option that I wanted for the home uniform because I already did what I wanted here. The yellow looked really weird when I did it that way, so I didn't want to do it that way. So instead, I just did no yellow. It's just white and blue. And I made a helmet that sort of matched up with it too. So it's a little bit different, but it's a little extra. If you want to go a simple design, you have it there with just the blue and the yellow, or the white with no yellow included. But overall, super happy with how these turned out, and one of my favorite teams. And that brings us to the AFC South. And now this one was another one that I had a lot of fun on. So we have the Oklahoma City Bulls, we have the San Antonio Roughriders, the Alabama Herd, and the Dallas Outlaws. And I did rectify what the NFL did, like how the NFC East has the Cowboys in it somehow, and like the AFC South has both the Colts and the Texans in. We're not doing that, okay? I'll show you the map of how they're laid out as well, so I can show you why it looks that way, and then I'm also going to show you how I have the divisions laid out. I have a spreadsheet that has all the teams laid out with exactly who is replacing who, so that if you guys want to follow that, you at least have my idea in mind as to why I did what I did. But here's the AFC South. A lot of orange in this one, I know, but this is how it sort of played out. I didn't put these together with the divisions in mind until I was like 20 teams in. That's when I started really thinking about the divisions. I just knew there was certain team concepts I wanted to do and certain logos I wanted to do, and I just started making them. But I think it turned out well. So anyway, let's get into it and let's check out the Oklahoma City Bulls. Now, if there's a team here that looks more like a college team than a pro team, it's probably this team because I use like the name for the striping instead of actual stripes, but I think it turned out really good. The Oklahoma City Bulls looks really nice. Look at this extra helmet I put in here with a secondary logo. That just looks so clean. It looks so nice. And this is where I started to try to make sure I included some orange in the builds, obviously, as you can tell, but it turned out nice. I wasn't sure what to do for the striping and all that, so that's why I went with more of just a very simplistic build and nothing crazy. And yes, the helmet, the logo looks almost like the Chicago Bulls. I look up Bulls logos and I found so many of them that I did not like. Then I found this one. I'm like, you know what? We're just going to do it. It's not the exact Bulls logo. It looks sort of similar. I get it. But it looks good and it works. And here we have the Rough Riders. Now this was a team that I really liked, but I had a logo that I hated. And the name is obviously more of a play on like the Rough Riders from San Antonio, but also sort of Rough Riders in general, like DMX, you know. Hey, I'm an older guy. I love DMX. But anyway, when I came back to the logo, I decided I wanted to do something at least to pay respects to the Rough Riders, and that's why I have the logo as what I have. It might look a little weird, but this is essentially what the Rough Riders, or Teddy Roosevelt in general, had as a logo on the hat for back in the day, and that's where I came up with this portion. Now the colors are just more of a, well, not the black, but the like this off orangish like peach color is something that I found in a flag somewhere or something along those lines from San Antonio, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to use this and we'll roll with it. And I think it turned out really nicely too. It looks a little similar to how I used to have the Bulls. The Bulls looked very different a while back as well, and I changed them so that way this team could have this look, because it looked really well with the white and the peachish orange accents. And yeah, so this was one of my first teams as well. I think this was like team 5 or 6 that I originally made. So obviously I've gotten better over the time with it, but I did have to make some adjustments over time as well. And this was one of those teams where I changed the logo, I changed the texting of the font for the word mark that you see on the chest. So the Alabama Herd were a team that I did on accident. I wanted to do a team, once I found the logo, I knew I wanted to do a black and silver team, sort of like the Birmingham Iron. But then I also did this to sort of just add a little color. And yeah, I know, it was red. Sue me, okay? That was the color that the logo came with, and that's why I did this. So this logo, this elephant logo, I found by accident, because I was searching for other stuff. And I'm like, wait, that would be a cool team to do for the Alabama. You know, sort of like a play on just the college team and all that stuff. So I was like, screw it, let's do it. So I downloaded the app, and I didn't want to get rid of the red eye in the logo. You'll see it up here right now, like even though the rest isn't red, because it gave it a little extra. So I left it in there, and I built just the black and the gray that I wanted to do. But then I was like, let's use that accent to make an alternative like marker for the team. Now here's the catch though, you're not going to be able to use red as accessory colors. I didn't want that to bleed into the regular uniform, so the regular colors are just black and silver for like their gloves and their sleeves. You're not going to have the ability to do red. I'm sorry, but I didn't want it to affect the rest of the uniform, because the main uniform is the black and the gray. But this team turned out pretty good. I like it. It's a very different type of feel. It's not a vibrant color here and a dark color here. It's like just two dark colors that sort of work together, and it's very simple, like the Birmingham Iron were from is that the AAFL too, or was that the XFL? Anyways, you guys get the idea. And this team is based off of the XFL as well, based off the Las Vegas Outlaws, the color scheme that is, and the design of the uniform. Now, obviously, I didn't make the Las Vegas Outlaws. I made the Dallas Outlaws because I felt it just fit better. But the color scheme, the way the uniform is laid out, is essentially based off of that team. And I added my own, of course, extras to it. But I love the way it turned out. Just like a goldish, like beige over red, like a copper, like a scarlet red and black. It looks really nice. And now some of the uniforms you're going to see, like they have like this next one here that just doesn't look like it fits. It's because it's not meant to. It's because I had 4 good uniform sets, and I wanted to make sure that you had options to mix and match other stuff, like white socks or, you know, beige socks or a different colored helmet. So I just threw it all on the last one, so that way you had it as an option. They're not all intentionally meant to be a uniform you wear together, but instead a substitute for another uniform, if that makes sense. So that's why you'll see some like 5th options on my teams where it's like, dude, this looks absolutely horrible. Why would you put this together? It's not meant to go together. It's just extra options for you guys to use, but I didn't want to put them in with the other uniform sets because I like the way those look. So that is why they're there. And that brings us to the AFC East. And now this has one of my favorite, actually, I like a lot of, I like most of these. Obviously, I created them all. Why would I not like all of them? But there are some that stick out to me. The Aviators is a very simple design, but I love it. The Reapers, a great design. I love the colors. The Stallions, I think, look very good together. And yes, that's a play off of the Stallions team from AFL. I can't get all of these leagues. Like, I can't figure it out, guys. Like, there's so many of these leagues that pop up every spring. Maybe not. There's like 4 of them, but I can't keep all their names together. But anyway, you guys will probably recognize the team. It's the Stallions from the Birmingham Stallions, I think it's called. Obviously, I didn't want to rip off the logo, so I came up with a different logo. I'm not a huge fan of the logo, but it does fit, and it gives the look of the helmet that I wanted. And then, of course, the DC Dragons. Now, in the game, they're going to be called Washington, D.C., because I cannot name them the DC Dragons in the actual file, but that's what their name is, DC Dragons. It just sounds good. And this was another creation by my daughter. Great creation at that. I love the colors. She came up with all the colors here. The greenish, that orangish color. It looks so good together. And yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's check out these teams individually, and we'll start with, of course, with the Aviators. So this is a very simple design, just silver and red, and it looks really good together. It looks almost like a college team a little bit, almost like Ohio State, if you will, but not at the same time. And I like the way that the silver blends in with some of the uniform, and I wanted to make sure to give a lot of different options here. So there's not a lot of options you can really do when you're just using two plain colors, but I tried my best to mix and match them a little bit. This is one of the only helmets, or one of the only teams, where I actually had to make separate logos. I made 3 different logos for this team, essentially, like with the coloring, to make it make sense. So if you look back here, it's the white behind, it's white surrounded by red, right? And then here it's gray surrounded by red, and then white surrounded by gray, so that way it would look well with the helmet. I didn't do that for a lot of teams, but this one, it just felt right to do. And then, of course, I left it. The thing with this one is it looks so simple on the jersey, and it looks so clean, that I could have added like the 2-color jersey, like the 2-color logo to the shoulder itself as well, but you see that it's just one color there. The reason I did that is it sort of made it feel like a different logo, but it also, just the simplicity of it just looked better than adding multiple colors to it, if that makes sense. And that's why I use, like on this one here, I use the pants to tie the silver in with the jersey, because if you really take the jersey away, it's really just white and red, right? There's not a lot of gray accent on it, but the pants together with it, with the helmet, make it what it is. And I tried to do that with a lot of these teams, where it's like you tie things in differently, so that way you don't have to overuse something in one, like in like just a jersey or just the pants or just the helmet, but all together there's cohesion, and then you have the cohesion across all of them. Like you can use any one of these helmets for any one of these uniforms. It's going to work well just the way it is. So I like the way this turned out. Very simplistic, but also very clean, and it looks nice. And that brings us to the Carolina Reapers. Funny story about this team is they were originally the Philadelphia Reapers, and they were going to be in the NFC. However, after I was going through teams and I looked at the names again, I don't know why I didn't see it the first like 47 times, but the 48th time I looked at the name, I was like, why in the blue hell is this team not in Carolina? It just makes sense. It's a play on the Carolina Reapers, with the Peppers, right? Obviously, the team isn't built on peppers, but it just made too much sense. So I moved them to South Carolina, or I moved them to Carolina, and that's when the Founders came into play for Philadelphia. But anyway, this is another one. I sort of stole the color scheme a little bit from the Eagles with that green, which is why you see the green. But it just works so well with the logo itself, and I like the way it turned out. I changed the way that like the home uniform was about 3 times, because I had, at one point I had just the black helmet with the black jersey, or like more like gray, I guess you will, if you call it. So this helmet was with this jersey, but I changed it to have the gray helmet with the green jersey and a white bottom, and made sure to add in this one here. This almost became the main jersey. I love the way this looks. There's some uniforms that I put together where the white is the bigger accent because of the helmet than the actual team color, and it just looks so clean to me. Maybe you guys won't agree. If you don't, hey, that's great. There's 4 other jersey options for you to use. And now the Stallions. I love the way these colors turned out together. They pop so good, and the simple stripe on the shoulder, it just looks so clean. I love it so much. However, there's some uniforms, like this next one you're about to see, that are just horrendous. They're not meant to be with on their own. They're just meant as alternates. So that way you have a red helmet, you have a beige, like yellowish jersey if you really want to use that to go along with the rest of the stuff. But this team turned out much better than I thought. I built them over the Jets. Breece Hall looks beastly with this. And actually, this sort of, it makes sense because Breece Hall was Iowa State. So those colors sort of match up with his college uniforms. Huh, I just realized that. But actually, I do like the way that this turned out. I'm not a huge fan of using this like yellowish beige color as like a primary, but it looks really good in this scenario where you can tell it's the secondary. And now the DC Dragons. And again, like I mentioned, I love the color design here. This is not my doing. This was completely my daughter, but it just turned out so clean. We have the black alternate in here because it just looked the best. But man, this helmet here, I love the way that helmet turned out. The orange, not so much. But again, it's an option, right? Like, just because I don't like the orange option doesn't mean somebody else won't. And that's why I made sure to have them. Even if it doesn't look like it should be there, it fits with the rest of the team colors. I'm going to put it in because I am not the one using these teams all the time. There might be somebody who uses them that likes it better with this color. And that's their prerogative to do so. So I didn't want to make sure that I was only making them for myself, if that makes sense. Of course, the original design is going to be my own, and that's what I'm going to want. But you can see that I tried to orchestrate all the colors into the rest of the other 3 options to make sure that there was plenty of variety for people who have different tastes and different flavors of how they like their uniforms. And I hope that you guys can understand that. But this uniform right here, one of the best ones that popped out. It just looks so clean. It does look like an NFL. I could see this on an NFL field. I could. Like this here, and then that logo, man. That logo, I had to go through so many because it's very hard to find a dragon logo that doesn't look like it belongs in an anime cartoon or in like a fantasy type video game, which I get. That's where it comes from. Like, I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying it's not football related. And this one was the only one I found where it looked gritty enough and believable enough that it would be on an NFL helmet. So that's why we went with this one. There was a much different one we used to have on the helmet that just didn't give the same feel, but it looks really good. It turned out really well, and I'm super happy with this Dragons team. And now we are on the final division, the AFC West. And you guys might recognize this team right here. Yeah, if you watch C4, he uses this team for one of his franchises. I really appreciated when he reached out, or he mentioned me on Twitter to give me credit for the team. When I made the team, I had no idea it would be a favorite for some people, but it has turned into a very big favorite. The logo itself looks good. The color combo looks good. It turns out really well. But anyway, along with the rest of these teams, outside of the Yetis, we have the South Dakota Bison, the Colorado Summit, and the Las Vegas Vipers. Now, you have so many different, this division here encompasses my entire journey with this, because this one up here was one that I used a little while after my first few, so I was getting a little bit better with how I should balance things out. This one was one that I had to completely redo because there wasn't enough room on the last year's game to make it the way I wanted to. The Summit was completely helped through AI. Don't care, I'll admit it. And the Vipers was completely helped by my daughter. So all 4 phases of my time building these teams over the last year and some change is in this division, which is sort of cool. So I'm going to show you guys the individuals one now, and I'll talk to you a little bit about those, obviously. But yeah, this division itself, man, this encompasses my journey with the team builder as a whole. So the Yetis, you guys have seen them. Most of you. I'm assuming that if you guys have watched me, you probably watched C4 or you've heard of him. He uses this for one of his teams. I'm super happy for it. I actually was sort of hoping that there would be some more guys that'd be able to see the teams that I put together and maybe use them in some of their stuff, because I want these teams to get out there, man. I feel like I was able to do more work on some of these teams than what your average person can, because I do this on the side for, extra income and I make content around the game. Whereas some people don't have the resources or the ability to put some of this stuff together the way I do. I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I'm not. But I'm just saying, in terms of your average person, I have more resources and I have more ability to get this stuff put in the game and to make it look the way I do than other people do. Whether that's because time constraints, creativity, just general not interested in making doing this work, because it's not the best work. It's sort of boring sometimes, just going back and changing colors and all this. But I am able to do that, and I'm hoping others can enjoy these teams so they can have a different experience than what you have with Madden. Because sometimes, man, you just get sick of the NFL teams. You want a different experience. You want your own experience. And that's why I really put this 32 together. Will I ever be able to use this? Probably not. My channel's too small to where if I try to do something outside of the mainstream, nobody watches it, YouTube doesn't push it, and I can't do it. I've tried. So as much as I would love to do like a 32 custom team franchise, nobody will click on it because it's not clickbait worthy, because it's not an actual NFL team. But if you're just looking to enjoy it, this is why I made it for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Now this Yetis team, I put this together. Sorry if you couldn't tell based off the logo, but I used the logo. I used AI with the logo. I tried 7 different type of Yeti logos and none of them looked good. They all looked crappy. I didn't like any of it. I didn't like the look. It looked cartoony. Even if I found like a better one, it just... And then I saw this logo pop up when I was just trying to I was brainstorming ideas. And this logo popped up and I'm like, you know what? I understand there's no Yeti involved in it at all, but I think people will get the concept of what I was doing and the logos make sense with Utah. So I went with it. And then of course, I custom made the shoulder by... That was sort of a pain in the butt because if you look at the logo, you can see that the Utah is sort of cut into the bottom of the like right here, you can see that the Utah right here is sort of mixed in with this part here. So I had to cut it out and then recolor it by hand to get it to look proper here. So it didn't look like it was just cut out, right? So that's why I had to do a little finagling, but I think it turned out well. And I just love the color combo. The dark, deep blue, almost like a black type of blue with this like lighter orange color. It just popped well. And this helmet here, I love this helmet. I like chrome. I'm sorry, I do. But overall, really happy with the build. And obviously others are too. And the Bison are a team that I really like as well. South Dakota Bison. Another state that never gets recognition or teams with them outside of college. So I was like, let's put them in the NFL in my world. And this logo, I had a different one that looks sort of cartoony. If you guys have downloaded this team in the past, it's different now. It's pretty much the same exact jersey, except minor tweaks. I was able to add actual word mark because last year when I made it, they didn't have enough room for me to have word marks because I wanted custom stripes, and the custom stripes had to be done. I couldn't even use as many custom stripes as I wanted to because I can only upload 5 flipping things. But now this year when they opened it up, I was able to upload more color combinations for the stripes. I was able to make a word mark. And then of course I updated the logo to be a little bit nicer of a logo, which I did steal from, I bought it from Vecteezy. I downloaded it from Vecteezy after getting some credits on there. But I think the logo looks better than it did before. I do like the color layout of the old logo where it was primarily orange, but this one just looks better and more like a logo that you would see. So this like maroonish / orange is, yes, it is a sort of a play on Virginia Tech because I love Virginia Tech's uniforms from when I was watching them back in the day with Michael Vick. So I wanted to use those color combinations and that's what I came up with. And now we have the Colorado Summit. This was one of the last teams I made. Second to last team. It was this one, then the Founders. That was the last 31st and 32nd team. And man, do I love the way this turned out. I love it so much. And I'm gonna be honest, like I said before, this was done with AI. Now, the uniform itself was not AI. They gave me ideas and I had to sort of work off of that. But overall, I got the idea for the team name and the colors from Gemini AI. I put it together myself though, obviously with the design. The 5280 was my idea. I really liked how the Broncos implemented that with their new uniforms, and I thought it was very fitting for Colorado. So what I did was I found a really nice mountain range, as you can see. I colored it myself, and then I added 5280 as a decent text option, and then I added an outline and I curved it a little bit to sort of make it look like it was part of the logo. So if it doesn't look exactly centered, that's why. I said, I'm not a graphic designer. I did my best with it. But I think it turned out really good. This like icy blue with this deep navy blue and the white, just, oh my gosh, it looks so good together. And the collar is what really I think makes it stand out along with the striping. Now, the shoulder, like the lines on the shoulder, I don't know what they look like. I was trying to make it look like shards of ice. I couldn't find anything that didn't look too detailed, and that's why it looked very plain. If it doesn't look right to you, I'm sorry, but this is what I came up with. I think it blends very well together. I think it makes the colors pop all over the place, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoy it too. That's the Colorado Summit. All right, and now the Las Vegas Vipers. And this was another team that my daughter helped me create. Again, she's very, very good at this stuff, and she helped me come up with the colors. When we got the logo itself, it was red and white. So she got the green, she got the red accents, she put it all together. I am happy with it. I think it looks very fitting for a Viper team. The green just yells snake to me, right? The red was very hard to work in as an accent without letting it overpower, and that's why you won't see much of it being used here. I didn't want to have it be like a helmet color or a jersey color, because it would completely change the dynamic of the team, and I didn't like it. But I like the way it plays off with the black and the green. It just gives a different element to it. So I really, really like the way it turned out. One of my favorites is actually this helmet here. Again, once I saw how these helmets looked in the game with how I had them built, it just looked so good. I didn't want to, I could have used it on all the teams. I didn't, I stopped myself, but it looks so clean. I just had to use it, and it turned out super good. I love the way the yellow or the green pops. And then this white helmet option with the black looks really well, looks really good too. Overall, is it a team for everybody? No, but does it fit? Yes, it does. And I think I think it turned out well for what we had for the logo. All right, so here is where all of the team layouts are on a map. Now, are they all exactly perfect? Probably not. Sizing might be off. I don't care. I just was throwing these on there as I was making the team to sort of keep it organized myself, so I wasn't overpopulating one area as opposed to another. And that is where a lot of the teams like the Yetis, the Summits, and the Bison came into play, because I noticed as I was making teams, I was using a majority of, regular major cities, and it was all on the East Coast. A lot of it was on the West Coast, and it wasn't a lot in this middle section between the West Coast and the Midwest. So I wanted to add a few teams in there to make sure that it was balanced. The teams are somewhat spread out, and a lot of them are within the realm of possibility for their own divisions. Now, the only difference is I didn't feel maybe this is something that I will get. Maybe you don't understand what I'm saying here. Maybe you do. I don't know. But when I was looking at the Voodoo and the Herd, you see how the Herd is closer to the Phoenix, and then the Voodoo is closer to the Texas teams. Part of me wanted to put the Texas teams and the Oklahoma team with the Voodoo, but the Texas teams and the Bulls feel like an AFC team, and the Voodoo felt like an NFC team. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just how it felt to me. So I swapped the Herd, who also felt like an AFC team, with the Voodoo, because I also felt that the Sharks, the Storm, and the Phoenix felt like an NFC team. I cannot explain how I felt that way or why, but it just is. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it does to me. And that's why the teams are laid out the way they are. Obviously we got the Koa out in the water, because that's, obviously Hawaii and Alaska are not on this map. This is just a standard, the mainland map. And then we have the Kodiaks way up top because, well, they're in Alaska. So you can see where my ideas for the divisions came from by looking at this. I wanted to make sure that teams had equal distance of travel within their division, but not outside of it. Like, I didn't need the AFC East and the NFC North to have the same travel amount, but I wanted the teams within those divisions to have a fair travel route between their other three division opponents, if that makes sense. So like the Voodoo, the Phoenix, the Storm, and the Sharks, all four of those teams had generally the same amount of travel miles as the rest of the teams in that division. What I mean by that is I could have had like a team like the Kodiaks in the West, because they are very west, but it made more sense because of the other North teams I had to put them in the North, because it would make sure that all of those teams had generally the same restrictions or amounts of miles traveled. And it is actually pretty common throughout the rest of the teams. There's only a few that have more travel miles than the others, and of course that's going to be the Koa and the Kodiaks because of their location. But luckily this is a video game, so I did it as realistic as possible, but also it's a video game, so it don't matter. This is the layout for the divisions. You can see right up top here, the NFC North contains the Fury, the Knights, the Legion, and the Maulers. I have, and most of these by team name, you can figure out who should be who. But as long as they're in these divisions, then it makes geographical sense. The Minnesota Fury are the Vikings. The St. Louis Knights are the Lions. The Chicago Legion are the Bears. And the Milwaukee Maulers are the Packers. Some, like the AFC North, are very different from what we had. So what I did was I just moved some teams around based off of whatever. So the Montana Mustangs, I believe, are the Steelers. Yeah, they're the Steelers. The Kodiaks are the Ravens. The Highlanders are the Browns. And the Wolves are the Bengals. And then I just did that for every division. Lay them out how you would like. Obviously, I would match up cities or general areas with a team that made sense, you know? So like the, which one was it? Colorado Summit, obviously the Broncos, the Las Vegas Vipers from the Raiders. If they didn't have a fitting, I would just put them with one of the leftover teams. That's why like the South Dakota Bison are the Raiders, because they didn't have, you know, they were closer to South Dakota than that of the Chargers, and that's why the Chargers are the Yetis. In my world, you can do it however you want, but this is how I broke down the division. So I hope you guys can use this. I hope you guys are happy with the teams. That is pretty much everything. A few things to just remind you guys of. If you don't see all the teams located under my username, let me know. Sometimes it just unshares the teams. I don't know why, and I have to go back in and I have to re-download them, but they all should be available there. Okay? Again, I'm going to repeat. The accessories on the helmets are all team color or secondary team color on purpose because the game never fixed the accessory glitch where everything is metallic except for certain helmets. So I just made all of them the team color so that it looked a little bit more presentable when you saw them in game. The shoulder stripes on the sleeves themselves. If you have a sleeve stripe, if you have a long sleeve on, like the loose sleeves, like quarterbacks wear, it will not show the custom stripe or logo or whatever I have on there. So keep that in mind. What I recommend, change your players to wearing the tight sleeves. Unless you don't care, then hey, by all means, more power to you. All of these teams I came up with are a mixture of me, my daughter, AI, buying images from other creators and artists, and then reworking some of them. I am not a graphic designer. I did not by hand, or like not by hand, but like from scratch make any of these logos. Not going to pretend that I did. I just reworked things that I could find. I had AI help me create some of them, and I think they turned out pretty good. I hope you guys enjoy this. I would really appreciate if you share this around, because I really want everybody to be able to see this and use these teams. I think they would be great for the community to use. I'm also working on recreating some NFL teams that I felt like need some touch-ups. I've done the Jaguars, I've done the Seahawks, I've done the Vikings, and the Falcons so far. And those as well can be found under my username. You can either search BillNick90. I'll pop that up right here. And then I will turn my camera off for a quick second so you guys can see. That is my username. You can also find it by CB Gaming 7. So I have multiple because I'm making more than 32 teams. So they seem to pop up under both usernames though, somehow. I'm not quite sure how that's possible, considering it's completely separate things, but it does still all pop up under BillNick90 or CB Gaming 7. But look up those two. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Before you leave, you can hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that bell notification. I will see you guys next time.